Listen closely. My friends, there is a very specific, heavy kind of guilt that keeps people trapped in relationships long after those relationships have stopped being good for them. I'm not talking about the guilt of actually doing something wrong. I'm talking about the guilt of simply considering something that feels wrong, even when it is actually the healthiest thing you could do. It's that quiet, nagging voice in the back of your head that says, maybe I need to step back from this person. Maybe I need some space. And immediately another voice argues back, but they are family, but you have known them your whole life. But good people don't just walk away from the people they love, and so you stay. You stay in the friendship that constantly drains your energy. You stay in the family dynamic that has never once been examined honestly, because examining it feels like a betrayal. You stay in a relationship that costs you more peace than it gives you, simply because leaving feels too hard, too mean, or too final. Here is what I want to tell you clearly today. Blood does not obligate loyalty. History does not obligate access. And the number of years someone has been in your life does not automatically earn them a permanent, untouchable place in it. The ancient Stoic philosophers believed something that most people today find genuinely difficult to accept. Not every relationship deserves to continue. Not every person who calls you family or friend has actually earned the weight and respect that those words carry. Recognizing when a relationship needs to end is not cruelty. It is wisdom. It is self-respect. Today, we are going to look honestly at 8 clear signs that tell you it might be time to cut ties. Yes, even with family. Yes, even with people you have loved for a very long time. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote something that most people never apply to the relationships closest to them. He said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Part of learning how to live is learning who deserves a place in your life and who no longer does. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by people whose loyalty was often more about politics than genuine care, understood clearly that proximity is not the same as goodness. Just because someone is present in your life does not mean they are good for you. Just because someone shares your blood or your history does not automatically mean they share your values, your respect, or your genuine well-being as a priority. Let us look honestly at the 8 signs. Sign 1. They only show up when they need something from you. Pay close attention to the pattern, not just the individual moments. Does this person reach out to you consistently, in good times and bad, just to see how you are doing? Or do they only appear specifically when they need a favor and disappear the moment that need is met? Seneca called this a transactional connection. He warned that the person who is your friend only for the sake of utility will cease to be your friend the moment that utility ceases. This pattern is easy to miss in the moment because we are good at making excuses for people we care about. We tell ourselves, they were just busy. They didn't mean anything by it. They have a lot going on right now. But patterns, when examined honestly over time, tell the truth that individual moments try to hide. Think about it. Do they only call when they need to borrow money? Do they only text when they need a ride, a job reference, or someone to watch their kids? And when you are the one who needs support, are they suddenly too busy to reply? If the relationship only activates when they need something, that is not a relationship. That is a resource being used. You are not a friend to them, you are a tool. And you deserve to be valued for who you are, not just for what you can do for them. Sign 2. They cannot celebrate your wins without something shifting. Watch closely the next time something genuinely good happens to you. You get a promotion, you find a great new partner, or you reach a personal goal. Does this person's face light up genuinely and immediately? Or is there a beat, a slight awkward delay, before the appropriate happy response arrives? That tiny beat, small as it is, often reveals something very real. It reveals a quiet discomfort with your success. It reveals a comparison happening internally, even if it is never spoken aloud. You might even get a backhanded compliment like, "Wow, you got that job." I'm surprised they hired someone with your experience, but good for you. Marcus Aurelius observed this dynamic constantly in his own royal court. He saw people who supported him with their words, while something else entirely, jealousy, resentment, or ambition, lived beneath the surface. Here is the truth. A person who cannot genuinely celebrate your wins cannot fully be trusted to support you when things become difficult either. Both reactions come from the exact same root. If your success makes them feel insecure or competitive, your struggles will likely make them feel secretly relieved or superior. You need people in your corner who are truly happy when you win. Sign 3. Being around them requires you to shrink. This is one of the clearest signs available, and it is one of the easiest to feel if you are just honest with yourself. Do you manage yourself around this person? Do you hide your opinions, your successes, your struggles, or the fuller, truer version of who you actually are? Do you do this because some deep instinct tells you that the full version of you is not entirely welcome, or will be judged, mocked, or minimized? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that freedom, genuine freedom to be yourself, is one of the most valuable things a person can protect. A relationship that consistently requires you to become smaller is costing you something incredibly significant, regardless of the label attached to it. If you have to censor your thoughts, hide your new hobbies, or downplay your achievements to keep the peace, you are paying a heavy tax for their presence in your life. Genuine connection creates room for you to expand. It makes you feel safe to be weird, to be vulnerable, to be ambitious, and to be flawed. If you feel like you have to wear a mask or shrink down to fit into their box, it is not a safe environment for your soul. Sign 4. They repeat what you tell them in confidence. If information you shared privately has a habit of finding its way to other people, you need to pay very close attention. Maybe you told them about a struggle at work, and suddenly your co-workers know. Maybe you shared a fear about your relationship, and now the whole family is giving you unsolicited advice. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of examining a person's pattern before extending them your trust. A person who cannot hold what you give them privately has told you very clearly what they will do with everything else you might consider sharing. Now, this is not about one single mistake that was made in a moment of weakness, which was apologized for and moved past. We all slip up sometimes. This is about a repeated pattern. It is about someone who regularly uses your private information as social currency to make themselves look interesting or informed to others. This pattern reveals exactly how much your trust is actually valued. If they cannot keep a secret, they cannot be a safe harbor for your heart. Sign 5. Every interaction leaves you feeling slightly worse than before. This sign requires nothing more than honest self-observation. You don't need a therapist or a philosophy degree to figure this out. You just need to check in with your own body and mind. After spending time with this person, how do you actually feel? Do you feel energized or drained? Do you feel lighter or heavier? Do you feel more like yourself or less like yourself? Seneca warned specifically about this. He said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you can improve." Notice that he didn't say you have to be perfect, or that relationships are only about taking. But there should be a meaningful exchange. If neither is happening, if the relationship consistently leaves you diminished, anxious, exhausted, or frustrated, with no meaningful positive exchange in either direction, that pattern, repeated over time, is telling you something worth listening to. Think about how you feel after hanging out with your best friend. You usually feel uplifted, understood, and recharged. Now think about how you feel after seeing this person. If it feels like an emotional hangover every single time, your body is trying to tell you something your mind is afraid to admit. Sign 6. They never take responsibility for anything. Watch closely how this person handles conflict, mistakes, or moments where they were clearly in the wrong. Do they own it honestly and say, "I messed up, I'm sorry"? Or does responsibility always, magically, land somewhere else? Is it always your fault for making them act that way? Is it the traffic's fault, the boss's fault, the weather's fault? Anyone's fault but their own. Marcus Aurelius held himself to constant, honest self-examination. He did this precisely because he understood how incredibly easy it is to avoid the discomfort of growth by blaming everything external instead. A person who never takes responsibility will never genuinely change. Why would they? If it's never their fault, they have no reason to improve. Furthermore, they will never be a safe person to build real trust with. If you try to address a problem in the relationship, they will twist it around until you are the one apologizing. This is a toxic cycle that will slowly erode your self-esteem and your sanity. Sign 7. The relationship runs entirely on guilt. Not genuine connection. Ask yourself this question very honestly. Do you stay in contact with this person because you genuinely want to? Or do you stay in contact because you feel obligated? Because of family expectations? Because of shared history? Because ending it would create a conflict or drama that you would rather avoid? Epictetus taught that living according to your genuine values, rather than obligation alone, is central to a life well lived. A relationship maintained purely out of guilt is not actually a relationship. It is an obligation wearing the costume of a relationship. It is a prison. When you interact with them, the underlying emotion isn't joy or connection, it's duty. You feel like you owe them your time. But you do not owe anyone your peace of mind. You do not owe anyone access to your life just because they have been in it for a long time. A relationship built on guilt is a heavy burden, not a source of support. Sign 8. You already know the answer. You have just been avoiding it. This is the final, and perhaps the most important sign. Somewhere deep down, honestly, you already know which relationships in your life fit the patterns we just described. You knew before this video named them. You knew it when you felt that knot in your stomach before calling them. You knew it when you sighed with relief when they cancelled plans. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look at things for what they are, not what they appear to be." The avoidance, the reason you have for not acting on what you already know, is rarely genuine uncertainty. It is almost always fear, fear of conflict, fear of being judged by other family members, fear of the specific, sharp discomfort that comes with finally being honest and setting a boundary. We stay in bad situations because the pain of the familiar is often easier to handle than the fear of the unknown. But avoiding the truth does not make it go away, it just lets it fester. What to do next? So here are the 8 signs. They only show up when they need something. They cannot celebrate your wins genuinely. Being around them requires you to shrink. They repeat what you tell them in confidence. Every interaction leaves you feeling worse. They never take responsibility. The relationship runs on guilt, not connection. You already know the answer. Now let me be very clear. None of these signs mean you must dramatically end every relationship where one of these things appears occasionally. People are imperfect. We all have bad days. Isolated moments of selfishness or thoughtlessness happen even in genuinely good relationships. But patterns, consistent, repeated patterns across months and years, are entirely different from isolated moments. And patterns deserve your honest, serious attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Being a good person does not require staying loyal to everyone who has ever occupied space in your life. Being a good person requires honesty with yourself, first and foremost, about which relationships are genuinely good for you, and which ones you have simply been unwilling to examine honestly. Blood is not an obligation. History is not automatic access. And walking away from what genuinely harms you is not cruelty. It is one of the clearest, most powerful forms of self-respect available to you. You do not always need a dramatic confrontation or a final, angry speech to end a relationship. Sometimes cutting ties simply means slowly stepping back. It means stopping the initiation of contact. It means saying no to requests. It means politely declining invitations and letting the connection naturally fade into the background where it belongs. You are allowed to protect your peace quietly. If this named something you have been avoiding, I want you to share this with someone who needs permission to finally look honestly at a relationship they have been protecting out of guilt. You deserve relationships that make you feel light, valued, and free. Do not settle for less. New Stoic wisdom every single week.